Welcome to Seize the Mains initiative by Malhotra's IS Academy. I am Surbhi Sardana and I will be taking this daily answer writing practice with you from Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. If you are new to this channel or if you are watching this video for the first time, then let me tell you that here we discuss UPSC level mains, mock questions or previous year questions on a daily basis. We discuss one question each day from various subjects of GS papers and we build answers around them. We learn to structure the answers, we learn what kind of facts that have to be incorporated in your answer and how to study efficiently for mains to get more marks and to get a result on the final list. So, I recommend that if you're watching it for the first time that you go back to the introductory video of the series so that you can incorporate some very good practices that get you more marks in mains in your daily studies. Also, you can download the schedule for the next 30 days, that is till March 17 for the first 30 days of this initiative from the description below. It's also available on our Telegram channel. Starting for today, it's day 11 of Seize the Mains initiative and our topic for today is from GS paper 3. It is linkages between development and spread of extremism. So this part has been taken from internal security syllabus of UPSC. We'll be discussing a question around this subtopic of UPSC main syllabus. So let's see what is the question for today. But before starting, I recommend that you put a pen and a paper close to you, and when I display the question here, you mark some keywords. You write whatever comes to your mind relating to that topic so that your mind also gets in a habit of memorizing things and you know how to address every question individually in your mains paper and how to build a structure for your answer. So let's begin by displaying the question. The question reads, discuss the factors responsible for the sustenance of left-wing extremism in the country. Answer in 150 words and this question will fetch you 10 marks. So the catch here is that in our internal security notes and books, we read about what were the factors responsible for the rise of left-wing extremism in the country. But here we are talking about the word sustenance. And just keep in mind the word limit. Most of the aspirants are having an issue with word limit. So we are addressing the questions with shorter word limit for some time, for a few days. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll be taking questions for 250 words. So discuss the factors responsible for the sustenance of left-wing extremism in the country. So you don't have to discuss about the causes here, but you have to discuss about the factors that why left-wing extremism has not been eradicated from India till date, and what are the reasons that the movement still endures. The movement is not ending. Why is it not ending? So you have to talk about those things. These factors can be incorporated from your daily newspapers. These factors can also be taken from the causes of initial start of left-wing extremism. You can take some clues from there also. We'll start by building an introduction. An introduction is a formal conversation with the examiner about the topic that's been talked about. So first of all, we'll talk about what is left-wing extremism and how does it affect. What are its reasons? So this part here, this long part here, this is just the basic definition of left-wing extremism or Naxalism as we call it in India. So let me read this out for you. Left-wing extremism or Naxalism, as it is known in India due to its origin in the town of Naxalbari in West Bengal, is a far left extremist ideology. So you don't have, so in the first line of introduction, you've not given any negative side of it, you've just defined it, that it is a kind of ideology. Okay, so it's a very neutral and a very formal introduction, very well informed introduction line for the examiner. Let's proceed. Where does this ideology come from? So just talk about it in brief. It derives its ideas from communism and emphasizes the progress of people's social and economic lives through armed revolution to create a classless society. So in just one single line, we have told everything we knew about left-wing extremism, that it derives its ideas from communism, and it emphasizes the progress of people's social and economic lives through armed revolution. It doesn't believe in democracy, it doesn't believe in imperialism, whatever the state of nations, whatever the state of governance is going on, it terms all of it as wrong and believes that armed revolution is the only way for ensuring progress of social and economic progress of the common people, and especially the people affected by this ideology. To create a class, it aims to create a classless society. So this is the basic definition of left-wing extremism. That's how you will start your answer, because there is nothing else that's asked in the question. So definition is always a very simple form to start any answer, to build an introduction. If there is something else, if something else, some issue has been talked about, or if you can elaborate on this part itself, if you have something apart from the definition that you can talk about to the examiner in the introduction, then just go ahead for it. An example is written here. People are drawn to violence and extremism by their perceptions of injustice, misgovernance, and the system's inability to engage the disenfranchised. So, either you can club this with the introduction, you can use this as the starting line, but this is a better form of introducing your answer. You can use this line in your conclusion as well. Okay, so these are the general reasons that why LWE prevails in India. So here we are done with the introduction. Now we will move on to build our answer, to discuss the factors which are responsible for the sustenance. So we've introduced it, we've developed the conversation with the examiner. Now we'll see how we can turn the direction of our answer towards what has been asked in the question, that is the factors. So the geographical influence of left-wing extremism has contracted to 46 districts in the country in 2021 from 96 in 2010. So this was a recent statement by Home Ministry of the country. When you use such lines in your answers, it tells the examiner that you are a very well-read aspirant. You know what's going on, and you're not just somebody who's crammed bookish knowledge. So this is the present state of present state. There has been a lot of improvement, but since there are some factors responsible, so the movement is still sustaining itself. Left-wing extremism is still sustaining itself. So this is a very beautiful way to turn your answer into the direction of factors, that why the movement is, why these 46 districts, even these districts are still affected, why almost 50% of the area is still affected with left-wing extremism. So this is a very nice way to develop a linkage point for your answer. So go through it. The following are the reasons responsible for its subsistence. So talking about the factors here, obviously since it's an ideology, it appeals to a very great number of people. So first of all, we talk about that it's an appealing ideology. They blame the capitalistic structure, to minus is plus, right? We are always told that befriend the enemy of enemy. The enemy of your enemy is a friend. So when these social issues and economic issues arise in the country or in some parts where LWE is common, so there are issues of unemployment, there are issues of illiteracy, there are issues where people work 24/7, people work very hard, but they're not getting the benefits. Even whatever their resources, the rights over their forest land, their agricultural land, they have been taken, they have been devolved for some developmental purposes, and the people think that they have been wronged by the present state of government, by the present government. So extremist LWE recognizes this fact and says that my ideology is better, and this capitalistic form of government, the capitalistic structure in which the government is also stitched together, is the reason for all your problems. So this is a very appealing ideology for the people, and that's why the movement sustains itself. That's why the people support it more and more. They blame the present wrongs on the capitalist economic structure. Naxal ideology at all times visualizes and propagates that imperialism is heading towards total collapse. So they don't believe in the democratic idea of India that we have, that we believe in, we as aspirants believe in. They believe that it is all imperialism and it's headed towards a collapse. So that's how they motivate people, that yes, our time will come and it's very close. So so they keep the movement to sustain. The second point is organizational strength of these extremist groups. If you have watched some OTT series like The Family Man, they very well portray that how these groups are organized into cadres, and that is a form of honor for them. The organizational setup is very strong, it is very much disciplined, and that is a hurdle for fighting against them. The ideological dedication, the cadre-based organizational setup, and understanding of the micro socio-economic situation in the various regions of India makes the extremists plan, operate and implement their strategies efficiently. So these people, they understand the micro socio-economic issues, they also understand the geography of the places they are operating in. The security personnel might not understand the geography of these places as much as good as as these extremists know the geography of the place and how well they understand the socio-economic problems of that place. They understand the root causes, they have been there for generations, so they are able to connect with people more and motivate them to help sustain the movement, to play a part in continuing the extremism levels further. So this organizational strength of extremist groups is a big problem. The third problem is funding resources. See, any movement, it cannot sustain without adequate funding. If somebody doesn't have money, how will they get the equipment to launch attacks? How will they plan something, or how will they mobilize people? How will they recruit more personnel into their cadres? So funding is a very big issue. Things like demonetization have been carried out, things like shifting to cashless economy have been carried out. We are already in a process to launch the digital rupee, because funding, it's very hard to catch how cash operates, where they get funding from. There are many foreign sources they get funding from, even from local people. They take all the forest resource to themselves and arrange funding from there. Even on the local population, they assure that they get a lot of taxes and levies from them. They loot government banks and offices to arrange for funds. So their funding sources cannot be stopped. We have not been able to stop as much as we should have, and it's very hard to stop them. So that's why they continue to operate. The funding is there, the money is there with them to operate. That's why they continue to function. So this was another point. Let's move on to the next slide. Continuous availability of recruits. Why are people joining extremism again and again, like one generation after the other? Even when so many of them are dying and so many people are converting into like normal people, then why is there a motivation amongst people? Why is this continuous availability of recruits there? There are many reasons to it. Sometimes there is no other solution. They are either forced to work for the extremist groups, or they are blackmailed and tortured, so they have no other choice. Secondly, there are issues like unemployment, there are issues like poverty, there are issues like transformation of agricultural land or their ancestral land into other uses by the government or by the capitalistic forces. So these extremist groups, they attack the vulnerable population, those people who have been in a state of loss by the current government, by the actions of government or business classes. So they target these vulnerable people and make sure that they influence them to join the extremist group. So the extremists have been able to ensure both financial and social security to the youth in the deprived regions of the country. Apart from the economic security, it gives them a sense of empowerment and dignity, because they are working for their own cause, so it gives them empowerment and dignity. The prevailing security scenario also compels them to opt to join the Naxals for safety reasons. This is a huge problem. Safety of the youth. Sometimes there is no other solution. For many, joining these groups is the only way to survive. Further, these organizations hire vulnerable people who have low literacy levels, unemployed or low income, particularly the tribals. So that's how a sad state it is. Building up their cadre, this creates a positive feedback loop of recruitment of youth into LWE. So if a friend of somebody joins the extremist groups, the other friends are also motivated. So this is a positive feedback loop. So that's how the moment these people have been able to ensure continuous availability of recruits. So these were the reasons. Let's move on to the next one. Leadership issue. So as I discussed that the geography of these places is very well known to the extremist groups operating in the Red Corridor. So they understand it more than even we do. We like you people as officers, you might read about the geography of a place or the terrain of a place, but any amount of training cannot ensure that you are well versed with the terrain of the place you are posted in or operating in if you have not grown up there. These people have been residing there for generations, so they are very well versed with the micro realities. So the leadership issue in the current scenario, barring a few exceptions, many of the senior police officers who are parachuted into such areas have little or no platoon experience. This led to armed personnel casualties. So this is the reason that so many officers of army and police forces have martyred in the past, and this is a very important reason. Make sure that you involve the point of geography here. So these were the 5 broad points about why Naxalism or left-wing extremism is still sustaining in India. Make sure that you understand the question well. It is not, don't go back to the Communist Party of India or its segregation or how it was inspired, how this extremism was inspired, or do not talk about how Red Corridor was built or what's their ideology. Just talk lightly about them. The question demands only the recent factors, the factors at ground in the present state. In 2022, if you're posted there, then what are the problems that will arise? What are the factors that you as an officer should know about that sustain this movement? So these were the 5 broad factors. These are very much enough for a 150 words answer. So make sure that you read this answer again. And now let's start building our conclusion. Conclusion has to be always forward looking. So either you can give solutions to solve this problem. The government has already launched many policies. One of them is Samadhan scheme. So either you can refer that, you can quote that scheme, and you can talk about the improvements that have been there in dealing with left-wing extremism in India. So that is one way. Let's see what the conclusion we have here. Internal security issues often occur as a result of unequal growth. So this is exactly, this was one of the factors that we discussed, that there is unequal growth, there is unemployment, there is illiteracy. So here we are using this, we are using the same factor to conclude our answer, to make a point that this is the reason and this needs to be addressed. And we must address this issue if we are to make long-term progress in countering extremist ideology and extremist elements. So this addresses what the factors you discussed. So whenever the examiner is asking you to discuss factors of something wrong, so those factors can be turned into solutions. Just take the keywords and give your solution for each and every factor if it's a 250 words question. Since it's a 150 words question, we are just using one of the broad factors and we are turning it into a conclusion that this factor has to be addressed, and this gives our way forward. Deliverables: mirroring social empowerment by means of education, skills development, employment facilitation. Human rights and the rule of law have enough in them to undo the negativity of linkages between development and the spread of extremism. So this is a very beautiful way of concluding your answer. This does not take a lot of words, but you have told everything, that we need to educate the people because they are illiterate. We need to provide more jobs. We need to make them skilled. and rule of law has to be there. We have to make sure that tribal land or agricultural land is not encroached upon by large business houses or for any governmental development project, because these people, they are very much attached to their ancestral land and they value the forest that they're born in, that they stay in. So we need to address these feelings also. We need to keep them in mind, because these are the only reasons, these solutions that we're talking about, the lack of these things is the only reason that left-wing extremism is still prevailing in India. So this is how we conclude. This is also your way forward and your conclusion for the answer. And as I said, that you can talk about the Samadhan doctrine. And since I believe that on weekends or whenever you take breaks, you definitely watch some OTT series, YouTube or movies. So make sure that whatever stuff you are watching is intelligent stuff. Don't waste your time, and whatever stuff that you're watching, it's recommended by aspirants or something that can relate to your personality. So if you're watching something related to this, make sure that you quote that series or a book that you read about in your answers. So that makes the answer innovative for the examiner. The examiners also get bored while checking all those answers. So when you add something new, it wakes the examiner up and the examiner is motivated to award you more marks. So this is about the conclusion. Download the PDF for this presentation from the link in the description below. Go through the full answer, write your own answer after this, and make sure that you add your own points. Go through current affairs, search Google, spend at least half an hour or 45 minutes research about this, that what all is there, what all extra information is there, and make sure that you prepare for this as an issue, that and then you write an answer. Just give like some minutes to it, some more research, and then write this answer and share your answers with us. Mail your answers to us at rmiasmainswriting@gmail.com by 12 PM of February 23, that is tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll be meeting with a question from GS4 ethics paper, and the topic for tomorrow is aptitude and foundational values for civil services. So I think this is going to be a very interactive session for all aspirants out there. So we'll see what question can be addressed from this area, and just if you're new, just download the schedule from the description below. And yes, all the best, keep working hard, keep writing answers, and keep sharing them with us. Stay tuned.